Yeah, there it is.
Never trust another paint to be a Benjamin Moore color.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
WESN.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. Good to have you. Good to be with you as well. Good for you to be with us as we continue these discussions here on WESN. The discussion this morning, Mr. Umar Abdullah, he's the head of a movement called the First Wave Movement, and he is calling on the population of the country to consider a total shutdown given the government's responses to some of the people's responses to government action and inaction in addressing national issues. One of them has to do with the situation involving the government's handling of matters involving crimes in the country, an action that people are calling for attention to. Mr. Abdullah is head of the First Wave Movement. He calls for a national shutdown because of the, so I suppose you could call it the heavy hand of the government in preventing people, when appearing to prevent people from expressing their views on how the government has handled some of these matters to this point. Good to have you, sir.
Pleasure to be here.
All right. So let's get to it. So the government is well, in the minds of a lot of people, not allowing for people to express themselves in a way that they think, even without violence, you know, parts of the city you can't go to if you want to make a statement, because that's how I look at it to some extent. People are going sort of at the front doors of, or the front steps of some of the institutions which people have an issue with how they're addressing the matters we're talking about, the question of the Joshua Samaru and so on, incidents and so on, and people responding to how the government is dealing with that. And you're saying that, well, the government is preventing people from, you wanted to demonstrate, let's say, in front of the police headquarters. I think that was one of the things, and that is not being allowed, and the rest of it. And you're saying that that adds up to a call for shutting down the country entirely.
Right. Well, that decision that I made to make that call didn't just come out of thin air. It was a result of a series of issues that government has been mishandling over a period of time. And
so what we have now is sort of, it's got to a point where it requires addressing. It's yes. Not this is not a first, you know.
Yeah. It's very much important for us to understand that where we are at a crossroad where you know, we either lose the democracy that we have and the sovereignty that we possess, or you know, we make every effort to preserve it and to hold on to it, whatever is left of it. And that is important for the public to understand. And what I want the public to also understand is that we are the employers. The government, or whosoever we voted into power, they are our employee. All right, we employ them to do a job, to run the affairs of the country, to run our affairs, to ensure that our livelihoods or the needs and whatever we require right, is made available to us in a manner in which that we're comfortable with it. And, you know, if it is we have some discontent with the managing of the affairs of ourselves and our institutions and so on, and we want to voice our discontent, and we go to the doors of these institutions, we should be allowed to do so. How come could I employ someone to run my company, and I go to the doorstep of my company because I'm seeing certain things happening and I'm not too in agreement with it, so the management team that I put in place to manage my company, I'm, you know, obviously not satisfied with their management. So I'm going to the doors of my company, and I'm being told now by management who I employed that I can't come to the door. And they're hiring security officers to put me out of my own building. I mean, this is how I want Trinidad and Tobago to look at this issue. And what is happening is we have the UNC party, which is now in government. They were once the opposition. And during an SOE, I remember, I was in front. Yeah, I was in front of the Red House together with other UNC activists, UNC parliamentarians who are now sitting in Parliament, and they were there spurring on protest actions in front of the Red House, trying to get rid of the PNM government. We were not there trying to get rid of the PNM government. We were trying to hold government to account. The very same thing that the First Wave movement is doing now. We're not partisan, we're not UNC, we're not PNM, right? But we are going to hold those who are in power accountable for the actions that they take and what it is they do against the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And if we see injustices meted out to the people, we have to voice, we have to be given the right to voice our opinion and to voice our disgust. And that is simply what we're doing. Now imagine, if the PNM government would have done that, what they have done today, when the UNC was in opposition, you could well imagine the uproar that would have come from the UNC side. They would have not allowed something like this to happen, and they would have sung the same song, "Our democracy is under attack," right? And I was making the point before we started the program, the kind of ingenuity coming from these politicians, all right, and the hypocrisy, right? Hearing one of the politician leaders now talking about democracy is under attack. But where were you when our democracy and our sovereignty was under attack, when you were in government, when your prime minister was making certain...
That's the opposition side.
The opposition side, the PNM, right? Where were you when our democracy was under attack? Because we were protesting in those days. We were in front of the parliament, we were in front of the institutions, the Ministry of Health, and all these other institutions. We would have went there and protested, right? And lo and behold, the UNC activist was almost every time present there as well. So, I mean, the hypocrisy, it's far beyond my understanding or my process of thought, my thought process and the way how a human body ought to function, right? And it's not resonating with me at this point in time. It is absolutely ridiculous what is happening in this country. And we, the citizens of this country, needs to take a stand and take back control of our democracy. I am saying it again, our democracy is an institution. We need to take control of that institution, and we need to preserve it. We need to preserve our sovereignty. We are losing that. Day by day, we are losing it.
I'm going to come back to some of that in a moment, but to what extent, what has been the immediate reaction to your petition, if you want to call it that, thus far? Well,
I have had some positive feedback, as well as I've had some negative feedback, of course. And like I mentioned to you earlier on, it is not my authority to call on a shutdown of the public sector. All right, that's the responsibility of the trade unions, and they're the ones who would call on their membership to stay at home, whatever they want to do, however they want to shut down the system, because I think that's the only way that the government may understand who really is in charge. The government is not in charge in this country. I want to make it absolutely clear to the government of Trinidad and Tobago, right? To all the parliamentarians, you all are not in charge. It is the people who are in charge, right? And we are the ones who have to make that choice and that decision. And you have to allow us to do that. We didn't put you there to beat us down. We didn't put you there to muzzle us. We didn't put you there to put scotch tips on our lips. We didn't put you there to confine us. We didn't put you there to lock us up and put us in detention, in detention, you know, for how long you wish. Yeah, we didn't put you there for that.
Yeah, as you said, I remember that, I'm trying to remember who was in government at the time when somebody made that statement. We in charge now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that the government would take up power, the leadership position in the country, whichever party it is, and they will think that they're in charge. No, you're not. The people who put you there, we are in charge. And if we decide, there's no basis for a referendum in this country, but we could seriously push for that. All right? Because let me ask this question. We have a voting, our population in this country, 1.4, 1.5 million. Out of that, we have a voting population of 65%. All right? In the last election, about 40% of that voted. Okay? Let's just take 20% of that 40%. Rolls out into the street of Trinidad and Tobago and goes in front of Parliament, goes in front of the Red House, and we demand the government to step down now. How is the government going to respond? I want Kamala Persad-Bissessar, the Prime Minister of this country, to come to the people in this country and tell me if 20% of the voting population that voted in the last election comes before Parliament and asks you to step down now, how are you going to respond? Are you going to stay cold-faced as Donald Trump and say no? No. Are you going to do that? I'm seeing that you're following every habit that he has. You're running this government on social media. That's what you're doing. Donald Trump does the same thing. On Twitter, every statement that he makes, the press has to be monitoring his his Facebook feed. His Twitter is, I can't remember the platform that he's on. I think it is, I can't remember it right now. But that's where he makes his statements. It is never in an official forum. And I see Kamala Persad-Bissessar is adopting the same type of behavior. And if that's your mentor, all right, a man who has been convicted in the courts, you know, for sexual crimes. A series of sexual, you understand, and that's the person you're emulating, and that's the person you're following, and so on and so forth. I'm saying look at her behavior, look at how she responds, look at how she operates. It is a direct resemblance of how Trump operates in America, right? And we can't have that in Trinidad and Tobago. Certainly, we don't want a copycat politician here in Trinidad and Tobago, all right? And if that's the way you want to carry on, then we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, needs to make a decision. And I think we need to make that decision today. Let's not wait. Let's not wait until the 17 days complete, the next 17 or 16 days complete for the SOE to be extended or ended. Let's not wait on that. We, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, we are in charge. We employed you, and we can fire you on spot as people have been fired before. I've seen media personnel being fired on their WhatsApp messages. Why can't the people of Trinidad and Tobago fire the government over WhatsApp? Send a series of WhatsApp messages. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. Facebook feeds. You're fired. You're fired. TikTok feeds. You're fired. You're fired. Send a message to them and let them understand that, hey, we are in charge. We employed you. Listen to us. Listen to us. We are speaking. We want you to sit and listen. We don't want you to be a bully, as how Trump have been to the American people and to the world, right? You're adopting the same habits, and we say no.
All right, so what's been the response thus far?
Well, I have been speaking with the organizers of the Kaya Sealy protest campaign. I've been in constant communication with them, and they also, I understand, based on what it is I've sent out, they have made a call for a total shutdown today, I understand. And they're asking people to stay home, you know, today and so on. So, but the thing about Trinidad and Tobago, yesterday was a holiday. Yeah. Right?
And today
it's an actual habit of Trinidadians and Tobagonians to take the Friday as a holiday, a long weekend, and to stay home on the Friday. So I don't know how much of that we might be able to look at the end and analyze and say, well, okay, so we had 50% of the population staying home today. Was it because of the fact that they choose to monopolize on the public holiday, or was it because of this particular issue? So I think a more genuine effort should be made. I had mentioned to the organizers of that campaign to seek out an audience with the trade unions, have a meeting with them, and discuss this matter. We have the Labor Day celebrations are coming up, and I think that will be a perfect platform where this call can be made, all right, or if they don't possibly make this call before. But I think the organizers of the Kaya silly incident should be mounted on that platform at the Labor Day celebration as well, and bring the trade unions in, because this is now affecting the trade unions, right? You're now being told, hey, you can't protest. You can't protest in front of the institutions that is critically under scrutiny here in Trinidad and Tobago.
That is the issue, where the protests take place, in front of some police offices and places that people feel are protected or ought to be protected.
But why do you think you need to be protected? Eh? If you're doing what you're doing and people are disgruntled with you, people are dissatisfied with you, obviously you'll need protection, because you're on your own, right? You're doing what you please, right? You can't come out your offices and feel safe. Why does you can't come out your offices and feel safe? The same people that voted for you. Tell me why you can't come out your office and feel safe. The people who voted for you, who campaigned with you, who hugged you, who kissed you. Why are you not safer among those people anymore? Because of what you're doing. If you do the right thing, you wouldn't need security around you. The people will protect you. You know why? Because you're doing what the people love. You're doing what the people want you to do. You're doing your job. You wouldn't need security around you. You wouldn't need no blue lights following you on the highway and all these things. No. Nobody wants to harm you. Why would we want to get rid of somebody? Why would we want to harm somebody that is doing good for us? Why would we want to do that? Why would you want to bite the hand that feeds you, right? This is what government ministers, politicians need to understand. I keep saying this all the time, Andy. If you come to me and you want to do a project, or you want to launch a campaign or something good in the society, in the community, and you come to me and you introduce yourself as a politician, I'm not going to want to have to do anything with you. Stay far from me. But if you come to me as a person who is honestly, right, in the business of assisting your people in your community and wants to see better for them, and you come to me as an activist, you come to me as a community leader, I'm going to rally with you and I'm going to work with you. Do not introduce yourself as a politician to me. Because a politician, I am saying it publicly, right? I do not, and this is me, I do not believe a single word that comes out of a politician's mouth. Not a single word. There's always something hidden. There's always a hidden agenda. And I hate it with a passion, and I do not like it.
So you don't have political ambitions?
No, I don't. I don't. People have asked me why it is I don't form a party, why it is I don't be part of a party. The only way you can make a difference is if you're inside Parliament, etc., etc. I've been able to make a lot of difference outside of Parliament with my activism, right? My letters, my correspondence, a lot of things we have been able to do, right? During the COVID, right? We were able to roll back a decision that the conservation corps had made to push out their students out of their classrooms because they were not wanting to wear the mask and take the jab. We went and protested in front of their headquarters. We took international media there at the time, and after that, they rolled back on their decision and they took back in all the students. All right. When Republic Bank did the same thing to their workers, we went and we protested, and we made our wrongs campaigning in front of the Republic Bank, different parts of the country and so on. And eventually, what did Republic Bank did? They settled the matter outside of court. They reinstated all their workers and they paid their workers compensation. All right. So we were able to do a number of things. And government was telling the workers they can't. Government workers that they're not going to get paid and they're going to be fired and so on if they don't take the job and all these things. We protested, you know, together with the same UNC that is in power today. You understand? We were at Woodford Square, we were at the Savannah, all these places, and we made, you know, a rallying call to the government to rescind their decision, and we will be able to push back on what it is they wanted to do. And we were not in Parliament. We were on the streets. We were activists. We were fighting a cause for the people. And I think, you know, being a politician, it does something to the human psychic, and it does something to the human being. And I think it turns them into a cockroach, right, honestly, right? And I don't believe that being in Parliament can make any much difference, because we have had instances where Muslims have been in Parliament and they have not been able to do anything much for the Muslim community. All right, the reason why Tetron is full of Muslims today, right? Listen what the government is doing. They're detaining Muslims and detaining non-Muslims. The non-Muslims are being kept elsewhere, but the Muslims, they're being detained at Tetron. You know why? Because Donald Trump told Kamala Prasad-Bissessar that there may be some element of, you know, terrorism or something coming out of the Muslim community because of what is going on in Iran. So, you know, you have to treat these Muslims and them in a different way, etc., etc. And she's following that the dictation. The thing about it is
that's a fact. I mean,
that is a fact. That is a fact. All right. She's acting on the behest of what the Americans is telling her. All right, and she's, you know, role playing, you know, as politicians do all the time. And check it out for yourself. All right, check it out for yourself. Most of the inmates, the individuals there at Tetron, they are Muslims. All of them are Muslims. You understand? And the thing about it is that why would you want to do something like that? Why? Right. So I mean, all of these things are happening, and you know, it's gonna buzz on social media, on the airwaves, television. It's being discussed that just before coming on this program, there was discussions surrounding, you know, what took place in the Kaya Sili situation and so on and so forth. Before I came on, there was another program before, yeah, and I heard they were discussing it and so on and so forth. And so everybody's discussing, everybody's talking, but nobody's taking the action that needs to be taken. We need to inform the government. How it is are we going to inform the government? We are the employers. I'm asking the citizens, I'm asking the businesses, I'm asking government workers, I'm asking the trade unions, civil society, religious groups, religious heads. I'm asking all of you this question. How are we going to inform the government? Because apparently they don't understand that. They feel that we are their they have employed us, so we are their subjects, all right? How are we going to inform the government that we are their employers?
How to do it?
I'm asking the question, all right? I am making an attempt to fix that by calling for a shutdown, by advising or encouraging the trade unions to do so, because I realize that I cannot do it. I'm not in a position to do that. I can't go and tell all healthcare workers or teachers and all these different institutions that the trade unions control, right? The PSA and all these people. I can't go and tell your membership to stay home. You could do that, right? You have the power and the authority to do that. I'm asking you to understand how this plays off, how this is playing out for you as a trade union, because this is squarely on your lap. If the government comes and said institutions after institutions, you cannot go within 500 meters, not feet, you know, 500 meters before these institutions, which normally is under public scrutiny every single second of the day. All these institutions. And you're telling me I cannot come to you, I cannot express my disgust and my dissatisfaction with how you're running things. I employed you, I am paying your salary. My tax dollars are paying your salary. How you think you're getting paid at the end of the month? How you think you're able to travel and be carried about with blue lights all over the place? Who you think pays for that? I am paying for that. I'm paying for your comfort. I'm paying for your security, but yet I am unsecured. Yet I'm at the risk of being robbed I'm at the risk of being attacked, I'm at the risk of everything else in this country, you are safe, right? We pay for that because we want you, we have put you in a particular position to run our affairs and to make things better for this place. But you're not doing it. You're not doing it, right? So how are we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, are going to inform you officially, hey, remember, we employed you. We are paying your salaries. How it is, I'm asking the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, if you have a better way in doing this, come out and say it, or go out and do it, right? This is the only way that I see at this point in time I can add to that solution, bringing about that solution, is going to the trade unions and asking the trade unions to shut down this country and to inform the government very, very clearly, in clear words, that, hey, we employed you and we could fire you at will, right? And this is what the government needs to understand. And if the government understands that, and they were going to pay a political price for every decision that they make, everything comes out of their mouth, they're going to pay a political price for it. And they understand that clearly, and numbers makes the difference. I think the government is going to start behaving themselves.
All right, so I will come back to the point about where people display their displeasure or their disagreement with action, whether it's by the government or by government agencies such as the police and so on. So if people decided to march down Frederick Street instead of gathering in front of the police headquarters or what have you, whichever the institution, would that make a difference?
It would not make much of it. The first thing we have to understand is they're going to have to seek permission from the Commissioner of Police to have a march, right? And the Commissioner could either say no or yes, right? Most likely he's going to say no, right?
The police commissioner.
That's the police commissioner, right? But if it's a protest action and you're gathering at a place, one place, with your placards and so on and so forth, and you decide to go in front of a place that is not designated on the regulations, right? Then there's nothing stopping you from doing that, right? I've had protests in the past. They're saying, well, we have to inform the police. Out of courtesy, we do, right? We're saying that we're going to have a protest action in front of this place and so on and so forth, and we advise that you have police officers there to ensure that the peace is kept and so on and so forth. Sometimes we do that. Many of the times I went and protested and never informed the police. But the police show up. Why they show up? Because of social media. I advertised on social media that we're going to have a protest in front of such and such place. I didn't write the police. I didn't tell them that I'm going to do that.
Well, they have their own intelligence and so on.
They have their intelligence, they see it and so on. And what they do? They call me. They say, well, we understand that you're going to have a protest, so on, so on, so on, so on. I said, yes, who's going to be there? I explained to them who's going to be there, what it's going to be all about, and so on and so forth, and that's it, right? They come with the officers, and they stand there and make sure that the peace is kept, there's no violence, there's no, you know.
And that's the point I was coming to
yeah.
the extent to which, so it's part of their duty to ensure that things don't get out of hand, that
yeah.
people don't, yeah.
There were instances, I was surprised, there were instances where I had a protest and there were no police present at all, right? It was widely advertised, I didn't inform them either. One such protest was in front of the Trade Ministry in Port of Spain. It was a well-attended protest. It was concerning the Trinidad Express customers who their cargo was not delivered to them and they were unable to access their cargo and so on and so forth. And we had some letters written to the Minister of Trade and so on and so forth. And we went and protested in front of there. We had our chants, we had our placards, we walked around the place and chanted slogans, etc., etc. Not a single police officer, all right? So, I mean, they pick and choose what they attend to and what if the police in their estimation realizes that they, you know, there's no need for us to really be there. We understand that Omar Abdullah is a responsible person, you understand? And they know that, right? And I'm saying that to mean the very first protest in front of the Red House, where this situation with Kaya Sealy and so on, I was there. They brought out the riot squad, right? And I I spoke to the senior officer and I told him, I said, what's this all about? I said, nothing's happening here. There's no need for the riot squad. I said, what you're going to do, you're going to enrage these people. These people are already suffering. The commissioner's police has never, until this point in time, have not gone and visited the family, have not gone and expressed any sympathy or anything to the family. No counseling was ever given to the family. Nothing of the sort. There was no outreach by the police service to attempt to alleviate the distrust and that gap between the public and the police service. There was nothing done. And you're coming now and bringing riot squad. I said, look, let me give you a good advice. Ask them to stand down. I'm going to speak to the protesters, and we are going to depart, you know, in a few moments and so on, and everything will be fine. Did that? They asked the riot squad to go back, you know, to stand down. They go back in their buses and so on, in the bus, and everything went well. There was no violence. There was no disruption. There's nothing of the sort, and everybody, you know, went about their way afterwards, right? Allow the people to vent, allow them to speak, allow them to say what they have to say, allow the media to carry it, allow the national, media and social media that everybody have their say, so that the government monitoring these things would understand, hey, we need to fix this. We need to have a conversation with the commissioner of police. This is not going right. The people is disgusted, right? We were placed here for a particular reason. And as far as we're concerned, the people is not satisfied. And we need to fix this. This is how things ought to be. You understand? So, with that said, the whole issue of protesting and so on should not be curtailed, not even on an SU, because this appeal court judgment spoke to everything that has been discussed so far. And these are some of the things that came out of that. And this was the matter between Vijay Ramai and the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago. And Vijay Ramai, however, was one of those protesters who was arrested. I was there at the time when he was arrested, all right? And that matter went to court. He took them to task for it. And what came out of that is that it was confirmed by this court that peaceful political protest in a public state, in a public place, is constitutionally protected. You understand? And the police acted unlawfully when they told Mr. Ramai that he required permission for peaceful protest. You understand? Because it was not a march. Yeah. You know, he went and he didn't need permission and so on. And the other thing is that we have to understand that Section 109, which everybody quotes, right, concerns notifying the Commissioner of Police about a public meeting. All right? Notification is not the same as permission. And that's why we need to get that clear, right? If we're protesting...
notification, then it's a...
For protest.
Yeah.
If you're going to protest, if you're going to stand in front of a place, right, we need, we notify the police.
But that by itself, you have to be permitted to do that.
No. You don't have to be. You don't need permission to do that. You just need, out of courtesy, you notify the police. Like I've said, there are many times I don't notify them. I just turn up, right? When they hear about it, they come and they present themselves, they make sure, they ask me whatever questions they need to ask and so on. I clarify certain things, and we are allowed to carry on.
There aren't those instances and situations in which you send a notification and it is turned down.
Yeah. No. Not to protest, but to march. It has been turned down. We have had that experience, right? Like in one instance, I would have sought permission to burn the replica of the police flag in front of the police headquarters, you understand, in protest of the high number of police killings that was taking place at the time, and I was refused, all right? That matter is before the courts presently. I think it's gone before the appeal court, all right, and we are prepared to go before the Privy Council if we have to. So you
burn it somewhere else?
No, I didn't. I was refused, and we didn't carry on the protest action again because the very essence of the protest action was to burn that flag. You understand? So if you
in that spot.
In that spot, right? And if you couldn't do it, well, I canceled the protest, and we took the matter to court, right? So we are deliberating on that right now. So notification is different from permission.
Yeah.
You have to get permission if you're walking, if you're rallying from one place to another, right? By car, by foot, or however, you have to get the permission of the police, the commissioner of police, right? And he, within his permit and so on, when he looks at the situation, he decides whether or not that could happen. However, if you're going to protest in front of any building, you're not marching to go there. You're not walking to go there, you're not driving to go there. There's no disruption of traffic, nothing at all. You just appear in front of the building with your placard, with a number of persons chanting slogans, etc., walking up and down the pavement and so on and so forth. You don't need permission for that. That is your constitutional right. All right, and it was held in this matter. And this matter, right, if people, just for information, was also an incident that took place during an SOE, when we had the health emergency situation and so on. During an SOE, all right, and this was it was clearly said that you know, right, it arose during the COVID-19 state of emergency period amidst public health restrictions then enforced. Despite the emergency environment existing at the time, the Court of Appeal still strongly affirmed the constitutional importance of peaceful protest and democratic dissent. Still upheld it. The judgment is therefore a powerful reminder that emergency circumstances do not automatically extinguish constitutional freedoms. And this is important for the public to understand. And this case is a precedent. So the government coming and doing what they're doing, it's in contradiction to the Court of Appeal decision in this matter, all right? And this was something that the UNC government and all the UNC politicians was supporting at the time. You understand?
I want to go back in the history, in my growing up and so on, where I grew up in the oil field areas in Los Bajos, Palo Seco, Santa Flora.
Yeah.
And the name of the man, Chubuly Buzz Butler, was something that I got from growing up.
Yeah.
And the image I have of him from hearing people talk about him is that he was the quintessence of a protest and disagreement with official decisions and so on. It doesn't.
Let me tell you something. Today, we are who we are in Trinidad and Tobago. The trade union are who they are. I'm not talking about the trade union today. I'm talking about the trade union then. But because of this man, right? And the stance that this man took in the face of what he was facing then is not half of what we are facing now. All right? And look at how we are responding. We're like sheeps, you understand? In a pen where, you know, we've been told what to do, and yes, 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 and we're just accepting everything. All I'm saying is that I'm not calling for violence. I'm not calling for any type of, you know, disruption to life and property and so on. I'm simply saying that we need to find a way to tell this government that we employ them and we are paying their salaries. We need to find a way to do that. And we need to send that message very, very clear to them. They need to feel it, right? We need to hit them where it will hurt most, right? And where it's going to hurt most is if public institutions are shut down, their revenue streams are affected, all right? And the international community takes notice of it. The very United Nations that you're boasting about, you being part of, a non-permanent member right now, it's going to be looking at your performance in this regard. And I don't think that the United Nations are actually appraised of your performance, right, thus far in Trinidad and Tobago since you have come into power. I don't think that was on their table when they looked at this. So the thing about it is that there are many treaties that have been signed with the United Nations treaties, and ratifications and so on, that you are going against right now, all right? And to boast about you being a part of the United Nations today it's a crying shame, it's a slap in the face, because you are directly in contravention to a lot of the treaties.
And it collides with some of what official actions are.
Exactly. Right. So, I mean, you have to reassess your position as the government. What are you doing? You have to take a step back and look at what is happening, right? And the more you come out and say what you want to say, it's going to upset the people even more, all right? And you're not helping the situation, right? The response of the police service, you're not helping yourself. You're not helping the situation at all. You need to regain confidence, public confidence. You need to regain trust of the public. How are you going to do that? By continuing on the trajectory that you're upon right now? That's how you intend to do it? It's not going to happen, right? Wake up, Mr. Guevara. It's not going to happen, right? You need to do better, right? You need to do better. Kamala Prasad Bisasa, you need to do better as well, right? You need to come out and state clearly what is your position as regards to this, right? And how you intend as a government to continue treating with this matter. You need to bring in independent investigators. You need to, my letter to the DPP, I sent a letter to the DPP. I stated that clearly in the letter. The DPP, yes, he's correct to say that he could only make a decision based on the information that was before him, right? He's correct. But I am asking the question, where is the DPP living? Which news media does he listen to? Which newspaper does he read? Right? When he opens his phone and goes on social media, what does he see? When he looked at that video, what did you see? Are you saying that what you're seeing in that report is in direct
based on
what you're seeing in the video? No. I don't believe that. And you should have, with the authority that you have, you should have told the police, look, listen, I'm advising that you all bring in independent investigators to review this matter, because this is not sitting right here with me, right? I don't agree that the evidence that you've brought is consistent with what is being seen on this video. And we've had numerous analysis on this video. I myself would have sent the videos to some of my people who are members of the First Wave movement in New York. Some of them are employed with the NYPD, all right? And they would have taken it to their forensic teams and so on and looked at the video. And they contacted me and told me that from their analysis, no bullets was fired from that car. Not one single bullet.
But is that not something that will come out when the matter goes public in the courts and so on, and analyzing and scrutinizing that kind of...
Well, one of the things we have to understand, my brother, is the court treats with evidence that is brought before the court. Right? The court don't treat with speculations.
Right.
And they don't treat with things that's out in the public domain, etc., etc.
The evidence could either be authentic and it could be convincing, or it fails.
Right. So based on what the police presents in court, if it's able to withstand the scrutiny of the court, right, then yeah, maybe they would get the nod and say, well, okay, you did a good job, and the girl is guilty of what is alleged, and so on and so forth and so on. Or the court, it may not withstand the scrutiny of the court, and the police will become under heavy scrutiny, right, as a result of it. And but at that point in time, what would happen? No charges was ever laid on the police, right? So it will just be a statement of the court, right, that the girl is innocent. So then we have a guilty party still walking the streets. Right? And I think that is my disgust with this whole thing. And I think there are a lot of people, but it's not being actually vented in the way that it should. Right? And we need to say it loud and clear, that because the fact that the police was never charged for anything in this incident, that we are disgusted, that we are citing, unfairness and this thing being unjustifiable. Right? If the police was charged for something along with Kaya, right? We will say, okay, well, we're okay with that. But here you've charged one person that matter is going to go to court. That person is either going to get a guilty or not guilty verdict, right? And the police, nothing is going to come out of that because they were never charged. They were never charged. They were never sent on disciplinary leave. They were never suspended. Nothing of the sort, right? The PCA has lamented that they're having difficulty in getting information from the police. You understand? The police cooperating fully with them, right? And let me tell you something. I'm saying it here on this program, Andy. I want the government of this country to review that arrangement between the PCA investigating the police and police involved shootings and so on and the TTPS. Because what I see happening is that, and we see many times the police go, they have these things happen. Look at this particular case in itself. Where was the forensics team? When did the forensics team come in? After the police would have gone and, you know, did what they did and whatever and so on and so forth. One report came out where the police officer who recovered the gun said he took the gun and put it in his how you call it, his vest for safekeeping, right? To secure the gun. That is evidence tampering. What foolishness are you talking about? Are you a police officer? Did you receive police training, right? Every single bullet that came out of every gun that day, right? The forensic team was supposed to come, take pictures, number the photographs, and present that as evidence.
So that was something ultra-virus, the procedures, it's what you're saying.
Exactly, right? Because where was the forensic team? You had Kaya Sealy 6 days in your custody, right? Under watch, under police watch in the hospital, right? Was there at any point in time, did you see the need to take gunpowder residue from her hands or her clothing? Where is her clothing right now? Is it in forensics or is she in possession of her clothing? You understand? These are questions that we need answered. You know, you are saying from the very onset that Kaya Keeley fired at you, right? Why was she allowed to leave the country? Why? Why didn't you arrest her, right? Why didn't you do that? No, but you had her there for 6 days. You went about your business. She went about her business. And you continued to say that she fired against you and charged her for 3 counts of shooting at the police and so on and so forth. And now you're seeing all the analysis coming out where people are dissecting. I saw a video this morning, Brother Andy, that where I smiled. And you know why I smiled? I said, look how people are being pushed in the direction of analyzing this video to the point where, you know, they scientifically, they're dissecting this video, right? And looking at the video this morning, the man was actually saying, you know, where the sun was at the time. The sun was directly above, and how the lighting of the sun would have affected the view inside of the vehicle. You know, man, scientifically they're dissecting this video, right? To disprove what the police is saying. And you are the DPP. You are still sitting on this and you feel that you made the right decision to order charges to be laid in Kaya City. You should have pulled back those charges and say, look, listen, based on what is before me now, right, in the public domain, and in the interest of public trust and confidence and so on, and so whatever words you want to use, I am pulling back the charges. And I'm asking for an independent team to investigate this matter and to bring a proper file before me. Right? This is not happening in my office.
Those things could still come out
in
the court when the matter goes to court.
And we have to also remember the DPP has constantly been making you know, appeals that his office is understaffed and he can't handle the workload, right? But you made a decision. But the police, because I'm questioning this too as well, and this came out of the commissioner's police mouth, where he said they would have sat with the DPP and discussed this file. How could you, who is also being called to account for your actions in this matter, sit with the DPP to discuss this file? That is interference on my part. You're interfering with the DPP's department.
Yeah, that's a whole other...
that's a whole other conversation by itself. Yeah. So all I'm saying is that there's so many things happen, Mr. Brother Andy, that we as the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm making this statement again, we need to take a stand and we need to inform the government what time it is, right, in local parlance, right? We need to let them know what time it is, who is the employer, who is the employee, who pays the salary, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, they need to get this message loud and clear.
All right, and I want to go back to that before we close that. So you say that you're working with or trying to get the support of trade unions and other kinds of organizations to join in this call for shutting down of the country.
Yes, we are presently trying to do that. I did send the call out to a number of trade union leaders. I did make a couple of calls, and they are considering it. One response I got, which was rather interesting, you know, now we're in government. And
trade union
we have a representative in government, and you know, we would rather want to go and have that conversation with, you know, certain individuals before we take such actions, etc., etc., which is rather interesting in 2026. Yes, you understand. So we have to beg the question. We have to ask the question now: is the trade union has become a political entity? Are they an agent of the government? Right? These are some of the questions that we start asking now. And if that is the case, well, then it falls squarely.
And this is the trade union movement or some trade unions?
Yes. Well, let's say some trade unions. I'm not saying all of them. All right.
They're part of the coalition that is the government.
Right. So, and this is something that falls squarely on the lap of people, again, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And how are we going to respond to this? How are we going to accept this? This is our land. This is our future. And do we like the direction Trinidad and Tobago is heading? Do we appreciate what this government has done for this country on the world stage? Her support for the war in Iran, and blatantly her support for the genocide in Palestine, and so on and so forth. The support for the Donald Trump killing 279 girls in the Iran war at the very first strike. You know, we need to be very, very clear as a people in Trinidad and Tobago what we accept and what we don't accept. And what we don't accept, we need to let the government know that, hey, take it down. All right, take it down a notch.
But what is the sense that you feel that you get the support in calling for the shutdown?
Well, that's a challenge, Andy. Over the years, we being in the activist business, we have never been able to get 100% support for any one of the actions that we have taken, which is sad. People have their own opinions, and we agree with that. People do have their own opinions. People have their own way they want to approach things and want to deal with matters, and so on. Some refuse to come out and say anything. Some are silently supporting, saying prayers in their house and asking for Omar Abdullah to be successful and whatever and so on, but you're not going to see them on the outside. You're not going to see them talking or speaking or anything of the sort. So you're never going to get that, Randy, if that's your objective. You're never going to get that. What you have to do, and what we need to do, is whatever we do, in whatever capacity that we have, it has to be impactful. It has to make a difference. And that depends on the way we approach it, and the way we speak to it, and the way we respond. And based on those outcomes, then perhaps we would find government paying attention to some things. They may not pay attention to all of it, but at least that's a step in the right direction, in a positive direction, where government is going to say, look, you know, let's take a step back and let's reassess some of these things, and let's try and fix what has been broken. And I think we are hoping that is what would happen, rather than we get 100%, because we're not going to get it. We're not going to get 100% support. We're not going to get the 20% of the voting population that voted in the last election to come in the streets. We're not going to get that. You understand? Forget that. You know, even people who are strongly in opposition to what is happening now you're not going to get them to come on the streets. They have too much to lose, right? And they're not going to risk losing these things, right? So there's a lot of things that you have to take into consideration and understand that people do have a fear. And whenever the people fear the government, that's when there is time for concern. But when the government is fearful of the people, we are in good standing.
Yes, and that's what it should be. Wow, the head of the first wave movement. Thank you very much, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us.
WESN.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Mark Anthony Peter, and welcome to episode 2 of Breakthrough, WESN's newest arts and culture show. Host, Mr. Sean Michael Small. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning. Yes, I speak too much, hence Mark is taking up more of the responsibilities, folks.
No, I mean, the intros are always good, so, you know, it's fine. It's fine.
And yet you took it from me. My one job. I have one job on the show, to have an over-the-top intro for you.
You did the
to be your hype man.
You did. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But you did the inaugural intro. Now it's my turn. Okay? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Right? Leave it to talking point. And ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by 3 wonderful guests here. We have members of the National Philharmonic Orchestra. We have the director of the National Philharmonic Orchestra, Dr. Roger Henry. Good morning.
Morning, morning.
We have a cellist and also arranger for the National Philharmonic Orchestra, Mwasi Award. Good morning.
Good morning.
And we also have concert master of the National Philharmonic Orchestra, Mr. Simon Brown. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you all so much for coming this morning. I know it's Monday morning, but I really do appreciate it. I know Dr. Henry has a lot of work to get to.
That's true.
After. All right, so we're just gonna get right into it. So